Hi, this is David Dell, Creative Director at Pilotfire. I want to talk to you about a simple system for everything and the two components, don't lists and project folders. Now, if you have downloaded the Pilotfire Starter Kit, you will be familiar that a simple system for everything is based on understanding your roles, developing really good goals around your roles, figuring out what you're going to do that week. It's a 20-minute process to make your week's plan. And then when it comes time to your day's plan, which takes about 2 minutes, circling the one most important thing and prioritizing everything else that you will do for that day. Now, as you know, I preach that the week's plan is the most important thing to do that week. Give yourself 20 minutes to learn how to do this, practice and practice, your goal being to make a great week. Do that 40, 50 times and you have a really great year. Now, what happens if your goals are big? What I'm going to talk about today is how to develop projects, which are simply a list of things you're going to do. Actually, it's two lists. A don't list, which is things you're not going to do, and a very short do list. And from those do lists, you can create your week's plan. Okay, how does it start? The first way to start is to think about your goals. And I did this with my Great Year workshop, which happened a couple of weeks ago. And if you've ever worked with me and read my stuff, you'll know I love this phrase, before I die, I want to. The thing is, for some people, that's easy to figure out, at least a few things they want to do before they die. It becomes much easier if you attach your role. So personally, this was a goal of mine. David's goals as a son. Before I die, I want to forgive my father. Right? Nothing small. And this year I will. Now see, once we figure out the big dream, we ask, and this year I will. And for me, that year it was to take a road trip to Mexico with him, being my dad. Now the top thing is our dream. It can be a little fuzzy. It can be beautiful. It can be kind of a little random. It can be something that might be a little bit out of our reach. But this other thing is specific. Take a road trip to Mexico with him. That's a goal. Other people's goals included things like this. Deanna, somebody I worked with, as a musician, before I die, I want to share my music with the world. A little vague, that's her dream. And this year I will raise money for my first CD. Now that is a big project, but it is a goal. There's her dream, there's her goal. Now I worked with somebody named Jennifer. The first thing that came out of her mind was to open her own design studio. Now, you have to ask the question, why do you want to open your own studio? And simply for her, it was, well, I want to change the world opinion about women. And she was going to do that through her design work. Now that's a big, lofty dream. It's awesome. And open my own studio for her was a fairly giant dream. And so you ask the question, in order to do that, what do I need to do next? She was a design student, so for her the next goal was to figure out how to do it right. And you ask, in order to do that, I need to get a great job. In order to do that, I need to build a portfolio of 3 music or theater websites before my trip to New York City in June. Now, that is a fine goal. Before I die, I want to change world opinion about women. And this year I will build my portfolio with 3 music or theater websites. Sometimes the dreams don't seem exactly attached to goals, but this one, as you saw, is perfectly aligned with her big dream. We talk a little bit about how to break this down into many steps. I'm not going to go over this. You can read Put Wings on Your Desires, the workbook that is part of the starter kit, and find out how to do this. We build up a lot of smaller goals that become part of our project. And as you can see, it looks like a wing. Now you may have seen some other examples of what wings look like. This is what somebody did a couple of weeks ago. It's a giant list. And then the question becomes, what do I do next? And that's where another tool comes in. The 5 questions that tell you what to do next. And you can look these over. That's something you can download on Pilotfire. But if you don't want to ask 5 questions, you can ask 1, which is, what is the most valuable thing I can finish right away and show to somebody who can make a difference? If you want to get this download, it's a nice reminder. Go to pilotfire.com/toolshop and you'll see instructions that'll help you understand this a little better. But that question, what is the most valuable thing I can finish right away to show to somebody who can make a difference? Well, when Jennifer looked at her wing, it became clear that she could set up an interview with KT at Oberlin Dance Company right now. And her next step is to put everything else except for that into a folder. Now, the goal she set up, what I call Jennifer's fast path, is to post the interview with KT at Oberlin Dance Company. Now, the fast path means, what is the fastest thing I can do to connect myself to that dream? Well, here is perfect. She was going to meet one of her role models and maybe even find out if they needed a website, which was one of her bigger goals. So now her question is to ask, what are the steps to get to this? Well, she starts listing them down. I need to write down the questions for the interview. I need to schedule a call with Nancy. I need to interview her. I need to write up the interview, make an awesome graphic for it, post the interview to Ellie's blog, and ask colleagues to make comments. Now, this is her fast path to finishing that goal, and these are all just smaller goals. And what's great about these is all but maybe that 4th one, write up the interview, is going to take less than an hour. Some of them are just going to take a few minutes. And that's the key, is to break things down into small goals that keep you connected to the bigger goals. And each of these actually is something that she could get very involved in. All right, back to the folder. This is what we call Jennifer's do list. All that other stuff that we had going on in that folder, the wing, that is the don't list, or as I like to call it, the don't yet list. So, one thing about don't yet lists is that while we're doing the do list, new things come along. They catch our eye and we think, let me pay attention to that. And I have one big hint for you. Say this out loud to yourself. Let me write that down and think about it when I'm done. Now, there are very few rare things that you can do right away that need to be done before you finish that other do list. Fine. But given that 99.98% of everything else can be written down on a nice little 3x5 card. As a goal, ask Emily to help me install WordPress and pick a great theme. Okay? Stick all of that back in your don't yet list. Get back to that do list, the fast path do list. Work on all of that. In fact, print it out and staple it to the outside of that folder where you have everything. And what happens when you finish that? Of course, you go back to the question, what to do next. You open that folder up, you look at your wing, you look at all the notes you put in there, and you ask, what is the most valuable thing I can finish right away to show to somebody who can make a difference? Now, just a little review of goals. We know from many, many, many studies that achieving our goals isn't necessarily going to make us happy. We don't make goals just because achieving them will make us happy. We make goals to learn about ourselves. We make goals to find out what's really important. We make goals to gradually master something. And we make goals so we can focus, because focusing actually feels great. We fall into a state called flow, or as I like to call it, losing yourself doing something you care about. Now, wouldn't that be great if we could do that all the time? This is a simple system for everything. I talked about don't lists and project folders. Let me know what you think, and have a great week.